Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Deep History for Sleep. I'm truly happy you're here with me today. Get comfortable, relax your mind, and let's gently open the door to another story together. Today's story is about two powerful countries. They did not fight with armies. They did not fight with weapons. They fought with rockets, they fought with science, and they fought to reach something no human had ever touched before. The stars above us. This is the story of the great space race. A journey that changed the world forever. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe slowly, deeply. And let's begin. Before we start, if you are new here, welcome to Deep History for Sleep. This channel is your place to experience calm, beautiful, and powerful stories. If you enjoyed today's journey, please like this video and subscribe. It helps more people find this peaceful place. Now, let's go back in time. The year was 1945. A great and terrible war had just ended. Millions of people had suffered. Cities were destroyed. The world was exhausted, wounded, and deeply broken. But from the darkness of that war, two countries rose stronger than before. One was the United States of America, a land of freedom, technology, and bold dreams. The other was the Soviet Union, also called the USSR, a powerful nation that believed in a very different way of living. These two countries did not trust each other. They watched each other carefully. Silently, they feared each other, and slowly, a new kind of competition began, not on the battlefield, but in the sky. Scientists in both countries looked up at the stars and asked the same quiet question. What if we could go there? What if a human being could leave the Earth and travel into space? This was not a simple dream. It was dangerous, expensive, and almost impossible. But both countries believed they could do it. And neither of them was willing to lose. The race had not officially begun, but the fire was already burning, and no one in the world knew just how far that fire would reach. After the war ended, both countries did something very important. They searched for the best scientists in the world, especially those who understood rockets. In Germany, a young engineer named Werner von Braun had built powerful rockets during the war. When the war ended, the Americans brought him to the United States. They gave him a laboratory. They gave him a team. And they asked him to build bigger, better, more powerful rockets at the same time. The Soviet Union had their own brilliant engineer. His name was Sergei Korolev. He was a quiet man, a serious man, a man who had survived very difficult times. Years before, he had been imprisoned by his own government. But even then, he never stopped dreaming. When he was finally freed, the Soviet government asked him to lead their rocket program. Korolev worked in deep secrecy. Very few people knew his name, but his ideas were extraordinary. These two men, von Braun in America and Korolev in the USSR, were the silent engines behind the space race. They never met, they never spoke, but in a way, they were always competing. Every rocket one built was an answer to the other, and the world did not yet realize that these two men were about to change history forever. October 4th, 1957, on a calm autumn evening, deep in Kazakhstan, a rocket stood ready. Inside it, a small metal sphere, no bigger than a beach ball, with a powerful roar. The rocket launched into the sky. Soon, the metal ball separated and began to orbit the Earth, quietly, steadily. Far above the clouds, this small object was called Sputnik. It became the first human-made object in space. Every 96 minutes, it circled the Earth, and as it traveled, it sent a signal. Beep, beep, beep. People around the world heard it, and in America, people felt something new. Fear. 1 month later, the Soviets launched another spacecraft. This time, it carried a passenger. Her name was Laika, a small, gentle street dog from Moscow. She was trained carefully, placed inside a capsule, and launched into space. Laika became the first living creature to orbit Earth, but her story was also a sad one. She never returned. America reacted quickly. They created NASA. They trained astronauts, built rockets, and spent enormous resources, but progress was not easy. Then, April 1961, Yuri Gagarin became the first human in space. He orbited Earth in just 108 minutes, and once again, the USSR was ahead. In May 1961, President John F. Kennedy made a bold promise. America would send a man to the moon before 1970, not because it was easy, but because it was hard. This promise changed everything. The journey was not smooth, lives were lost. Apollo 1 tragedy. Soviet failures, Korolev's death. But still, both nations pushed forward 1968. Apollo 8 reached the moon. Humans saw Earth from space, small, blue, and fragile. Then came July 1969, Apollo 11. The world was watching. Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon. One small step for man. One giant leap for mankind. Over 600 million people listened. Humanity had reached the moon after Apollo 11. More missions followed, eventually. Competition turned into cooperation, and today, astronauts from many nations work together in space. The space race taught us something powerful, that dreams can take us beyond limits, and from space, there are no borders, only one small, beautiful Earth as an English learner. This story is your journey too. Every word you learn is a step forward. Every story, a small launch, and one day, you will look back and see how far you have come. Thank you for listening to Mr. Silent Sleeper. If this story touched you, leave a comment. And if you want part 2, just write "I want part 2." Until then, keep listening, keep learning, and keep moving forward slowly and surely. After Apollo 11, more missions followed. In total, 12 human beings walked on the surface of the moon between 1969 and 1972. The Soviet Union, without Korolev and without a clear direction, never sent a cosmonaut to the moon. Instead, they focused on building space stations, and in that area, they continued to make important discoveries. Over the years, the competition between the two countries slowly turned into cooperation. In 1975, something incredible happened. An American spacecraft and a Soviet spacecraft met in space. They docked together in orbit, like a handshake among the stars. Astronauts from two rival nations looked at each other, not as enemies, but as fellow explorers. And in that quiet moment, something changed. Today, astronauts from many different countries live and work together on the International Space Station. They share knowledge, they share responsibility, and they share the same fragile home below them, Tuis. Space race taught the world many powerful lessons. It showed us that human beings are capable of extraordinary things when they have a strong enough dream. It showed us that science and curiosity can take us further than conflict ever could, and it showed us something quiet and deeply beautiful. When you look at the Earth from space, you do not see borders, you do not see countries. You see one small blue world, floating in the vast darkness of space, fragile, precious, and worth protecting. But even after the moon landing, the story of space did not end. In fact, it was only the beginning of something much greater. The world had seen what humanity was capable of. Now, the question was no longer, can we reach space? The question became, what will we do now that we are here? After the intense competition of the space race, something unexpected began to happen. The tension between the United States and the Soviet Union slowly, very slowly, began to ease. Not completely, but enough to open a small door, a door toward cooperation. In 1975, something historic happened. An American spacecraft and a Soviet spacecraft met in space. They connected. High above the Earth, astronauts from two rival nations shook hands in orbit. It was more than just a mission, it was a message, a quiet message to the world, that even the greatest rivals can come together when they look beyond their differences. As the years passed, space exploration continued to grow. New technologies were developed. Satellites began to circle the Earth, helping us communicate, navigate, and understand our planet better. Space was no longer just about competition. It became a place for discovery, place for science, a place for unity. Countries from around the world started to work together, sharing knowledge, sharing dreams, and sharing the endless sky above. One of the greatest symbols of this cooperation is the International Space Station, floating high above the Earth, moving at incredible speed. It is a home in space, a laboratory. Among the stars, astronauts from different countries live and work there together. They eat together. They work together. They look down at Earth together. And when they look down, they don't see borders. They don't see countries. They see one world, one home, one fragile, beautiful planet. The space race was never just about rockets. It was never just about being first. It was about something deeper, something more human. It was about curiosity, the desire to explore, the courage to try something impossible, and the strength to keep going, even after failure, even after loss. And now, as you sit here listening, think about your own journey. You may not be building rockets, you may not be traveling to the moon, but you are moving forward. Every single day, every new word you learn, every sentence you understand is a step, a quiet, powerful step, just like the astronauts. You are training, growing, becoming stronger. And one day, you will look back at this moment and realize how far you have come. Thank you for being here with Mr. Silent Sleeper. Your time, your attention, your presence means more than you know. If this story made you feel something, even for a moment, leave a comment below. I would truly love to hear your thoughts. And if you want to go even deeper into stories like this, just write, "I want part 2, because this journey does not have to end here. Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and keep moving forward. Slowly, calmly, and with purpose. And with purpose, but even after all of this, even after reaching the moon, humanity did not stop looking upward, because space is not a destination. It is a beginning that never truly ends. New questions started to rise again. What lies beyond the moon? What lies beyond our solar system? And are we truly alone in this vast universe? Scientists began building more powerful telescopes. Space probes were sent farther than ever before. Some of them left our solar system entirely, carrying messages from Earth, drifting silently into the unknown. Voyagers, traveling into endless darkness, with no guarantee of return, and still, they continue their journey, silently, faithfully, for decades. They have been moving farther and farther away from home, like tiny pieces of humanity, exploring the infinite. Meanwhile, on Earth, space became part of everyday life. Satellites now control communication, weather prediction, navigation, even global security. Without realizing it, space technology became a part of every human life. Every phone call, every online message, every weather forecast, all connected to the silent machines orbiting above us. And yet, despite all this progress, the true magic of space remains unchanged. When astronauts speak about their experience, they often describe the same feeling: a deep silence, a breathtaking view, and a sudden realization that everything they ever knew, every city, every mountain, every ocean, exists on a single fragile planet, floating in endless darkness. That feeling has a name. It is called the overview effect, a shift in perspective, a moment when everything becomes clear, borders disappear, differences fade, and humanity feels connected, not as nations but as one species, sharing one home and one future. As time moves forward, more missions will come, more discoveries will be made. Humans may one day walk on Mars. They may build cities beyond Earth. They may travel even deeper into the unknown. But no matter how far we go, we will always carry this story with us, the story of how it began, with a race, with competition, with fear, and how it slowly transformed into something greater: understanding, cooperation, and unity. Because in the end, the greatest discovery of the space race was not a rocket, or a satellite, or even the moon landing. It was us, humanity, discovering itself, looking at the sky, and realizing that the universe is vast, but our shared future is one. And as you listen to this story now, remember this: you are part of that same journey. Every step you take in learning, every effort you make to grow, every time you try again after failure, you are continuing the same story, the story of exploration, the story of progress, the story of humanity itself. So keep going. Keep learning, keep exploring, because just like space, your potential has no limits, and the journey has only just begun, Because long after the first footsteps on the moon, humanity started to realize something even more powerful. We were not just exploring space, we were learning how to survive beyond Earth, how to adapt, how to think, differently, how to work together in ways we had never done before. Every mission became a lesson, every failure became a warning, and every success became a stepping stone towards something even greater. In orbit above Earth, astronauts began spending months, even years, in space, living in microgravity, conducting experiments, studying how the human body changes away from Earth. Bones become weaker, muscles adapt, time itself feels different in a place where sunrise happens every 90 minutes. At space was no longer just a race. It had become a classroom, a laboratory without walls, a place where humanity was learning how to become a spacefaring species. And back on Earth, something equally important was happening. The spirit of competition slowly transformed into collaboration. Countries that once raced against each other began sharing data, sharing missions, and sharing dream space. Agencies from different nations started working together on projects that no single country could achieve alone, because space was too big for one nation, too complex for one mind, too vast for one ambition. It required unity, it required trust, it required humanity. And so, step by step, the same rivals who once competed for the moon began building something together that orbited above all of us, a symbol of cooperation, a symbol of peace, a symbol of what we can achieve when we choose collaboration over conflict. But even with all these achievements, the universe still feels endless, still quiet, still mysterious. There are billions of galaxies, each galaxy holding billions of stars, and around those stars, countless worlds that we may never see. Somewhere out there, there may be oceans under alien skies, mountains we cannot imagine, and skies filled with colors we have never witnessed. The universe is not just large, it is almost beyond comprehension. And yet, here we are, on one small planet, trying to understand it all, trying to reach beyond it, trying to answer questions that have no final answers. But maybe that is the point. Maybe the purpose of space exploration is not to finish the journey, but to keep asking, to keep searching, to keep moving forward, even into the unknown. Because every time humanity looks up at the stars, something inside us awakens, curiosity, wonder, and hope. And now, as this story slowly comes to an end, take a moment not to look at the sky, but to think about it. Think about everything that had to happen for humanity to reach space. The wars, the struggles, the inventions, the dreams, the failures, and the people who refused to give up. Even when the world doubted them, all of it led to one small moment, a boot stepping onto the surface of the moon, and a voice speaking into the silence of space. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, and in that moment, the universe did not change, but we did, and that was the real beginning of everything that came after. So as you move forward in your own life, remember this story, remember the rockets, remember the silence of space, remember the courage it took to reach beyond the sky, and remember that no matter how far away your dreams may feel, they are never impossible. They are only waiting for you to begin, slowly, quietly, and with purpose. The same way this journey began, and the same way every great journey will always begin, and the same way every great journey will always begin, slowly, quietly, and with purpose. Because when you look back at the space race, you don't just see rockets anymore, you see people who dreamed beyond limits, people who refused to accept impossible, people who turned fear into discovery and competition into cooperation. The space race was never just a battle between two countries. It was a mirror held up to humanity, showing us what we can become when we push beyond our comfort, beyond our fear, and beyond what we believe is possible. From the first silent signal of Sputnik to the fragile life of Laika orbiting Earth, to Yuri Gagarin's first human flight, to Neil Armstrong's footsteps on the moon. Every moment was a step deeper into the unknown, but also a step closer to understanding ourselves. And now today, as spacecraft travel farther than ever before, as telescopes look back to the edge of time itself, and as humans live and work together in orbit, the message of the space race has become clearer than ever. We were never meant to stay small. We were meant to explore. We were meant to question. We were meant to reach beyond the sky. And even though the original race is over, the real journey continues, not between nations, but within humanity itself. A journey of learning, a journey of unity, a journey that has no finish line. Because space will always be their silent infinite waiting, and every generation will look up at the same sky and feel the same question rise inside them. What is out there, and what can we become if we keep going? So as this story finally comes to its end, remember this simple truth. The greatest discovery in history was not space. It was the realization that we are capable of exploring it together. And maybe one day, far in the future, someone will look back at our time, just as we look back at the first astronauts, and they will say, "This was the moment it all began, when humanity stopped looking at the Earth as separate pieces and started seeing it as one shared home, one fragile world, one united species, and one endless journey into the stars." Thank you for being part of this story. Thank you for listening, and thank you for remembering that even in the vast silence of space, our voices, our dreams, and our hope still matter, and so we continue forward, not alone but together always.